All right, we're back on the Woman Show to Experience show. Our guest is here. She is an awesome woman who I've known social media wise for years, but it's the first time
we actually met in person.
In person, yes. She is an awesome woman. Her backstory is incredible. We'll get into that. But she is a community empowerment activist, a philanthropist, a champion of mental health. I love that.
Yes, next month is mental health.
Yes, it is. That's correct. That's correct. Yes, that's correct. Yes. She is a multi-creative, graphic designer, serial entrepreneur, food enthusiast, anime lover, as you can tell by her shirt, and comic book collector. She's got the bag right there. It's an author, a podcaster, a freelance model, an immigrant born in Jamaica. She is a lover of love, a wife. She is a mommy of baby fetus. We'll get back to that story later. To fund her life's mission, our community empowerment, she founded her 501c3 charitable organization, ITAVFoundation, which means it takes a village. It's September 2017. She is a self-proclaimed lover of life and love. Her blog, Life is a Journey. She shares her life journey into motherhood, entrepreneurship, and personal experience to help inspire and encourage others. Trudean is a bubbly, bright, fun, impact, strong-willed, for love, sure, honest, and raw. So let's welcome our guest, community champion, Trudean Haye. How are you this morning?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Like I said, we had known each other for social media for years. You know, but that first time meeting in person, your backstory is incredible. But also we're champions of mental health. I'm a mental health advocate because it's so important that our people get healed. And because someone's going on and the pandemic really exposed that, and now going forward, it's like we have to take care of our mental health because our mental health, I believe, affects everything we do.
Yes,
every decision we make, every choice you make, the friendships you have, the relationships you have, the people that we choose, spouses, is so important because, so let's get right to it. So, who was Trudean growing up in Jamaica?
I was a troublemaker. If I'm gonna be honest, I don't want nobody to be like, she wasn't all innocent. I was a troublemaker, but honestly though, for me, I feel like I was just a little misguided,
Right.
Just a little misguided. Life in Jamaica for me it's always been about community. And that's like, even with my nonprofit, that's the one thing I've taken from my culture is our community, our background. I grew up in a very large family, like we're big and stuff like that. So yeah, I was the one that was in the trouble the most though. But all my teachers will tell you I was very diligent in my schoolwork, like book smarts. That was me.
Right.
That was me. But they'll always be like, but don't stay out of trouble. Because I've always been like this since I was a child. If I see something and it doesn't make sense to me, I challenge it. So I was always challenging older adults, well, that doesn't make sense to me, so why should I do it that way when if I do it this way, it works better, or, so for that, I was always in trouble. Like my grandma would say, rest her soul, my mouth. My mouth got me in trouble a lot, so yeah.
So how long were you in Jamaica before you migrated here?
I was born and raised there, and I lived in Jamaica for 14 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 14 years.
So where in Jamaica you lived at? Kingston?
Oh, God, no. Do everybody think every Jamaican is from Kingston?
No, I was further call my mind. It was Kingston. No, I'm not offending you at all.
I'm not offended at all. No, I was born and raised, so I'm from St. Catherine, but I was born and raised in a little small, I don't want to call it a village, but it's really like a village called Bogwalk, and it's close to Sligoville, and it's not far from, everybody's familiar with Ocherius. You know, it's not far from Ochi, and it's not far from Spanish Town, which isn't too far from Kingston. But I'm not from Kingston. I'm from the country. Like, I grew up on a farm, literally.
Okay.
You name it, I can slaughter it.
So what was the adjustment like from Jamaica to America?
I mean, it wasn't, I don't think it wasn't as hard because, you know, my family, we're big and we're from all over, you know, so my family travels a lot. So coming here, my cousins were already here, my aunts were here, like Jersey, New York, Florida, Canada, like we everywhere, you know. So I basically, when I came to America, I had family here, so it didn't really feel different or anything like that. I think the only difference was school, you know, which I make friends easily. Like, it's just me. I make friends naturally, you know. But when it came to like I said, book smarts, you know, what they were teaching in school, I already knew. You know, like our education system is so different. So what they were just now starting to learn in high school, I've already learned that. So of course, naturally, that made me a straight A student, which means I got picked on a lot because I was a straight A student, you know. And the accent, it was definitely really thicker in high school. So, you know, people picked on me, but it wasn't too bad because, you know, I punch anybody that picked on me. So I don't support violence though. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. You know, my teachers were wonderful. My teachers were amazing. I think after the first year, things like, you know, it was good. Like, it wasn't as bad. You know, I learned Philadelphia in 1 year, you know, like to get around and everything, the bus system. Like, yeah. So I learned, because I'm a fast learner. So, you know, it wasn't too bad. And I love school, you know. So,
okay, good. So you started your organization, ITAVFoundation, in 2017. Why did you start it? and what made you start it?
Okay, so a part of my backstory is that I've been on my own since I was 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I came to America when I was 14. I've been on my own since I was 16. So in essence, I was homeless at 16 years old. I had friends whom I was staying with, and then I had my family were big in church, so going to church and all that stuff. One of my church sister, she was legit, well, not even legit, she's like a sister to me, like my big sister. She knew what was going on in my living situation, so she like told her parents, and they took me in, you know. But being in a homeless at 16, I think a lot of people think homelessness has a certain look.
Connotation.
Yeah, you know, it's yeah, because it's like you would never look at someone like me and go, she's homeless. But I always say that, you know, homelessness and anything in general, it doesn't discriminate. Like, being homeless doesn't mean you're a bum on the street. It doesn't mean you're on drugs. You know, you can legit have a job and be homeless. You know, being homeless means you're without a home. So being homeless, being the fact that I was an immigrant, well, I am an immigrant, I'm still a teenager, I'm still in school, I realized that there was no support within the community to help me, like none whatsoever. The church wasn't supportive, and what little support they could provide wasn't what I needed, you know. And my school, Delaware Valley Charter High, it's no more. It's no more.
Well, is that a school on next to Einstein?
Yeah, down right. Delaware Valley Charter High, because before we were on Wayne and Shelton.
Okay.
Yeah, we was on Wayne and Shelton, but then we moved down
right down the street from Einstein.
Yeah, right on the street from Einstein, and there used to be a lot of fight between Girls High, or school, and Central. Yeah. Wow. So our school school, we had a later dismissal time to avoid fighting, you know, and all of that stuff. But because of my school and because of the student I was, my teacher, my guidance counselor, my teacher, they started noticing like a decline in my grade, and they're like, "What's going on?"
Right.
So when I told them, my school did all that they could to help me, you know, graduate. My principal, Mr. Holliday, rest in peace, you know, they were amazing. But it took that moment after I left school, it opened up my eyes, because when it came to stuff like period poverty, you know, I didn't have access to nothing. Like, I didn't have access to school clothes, school, like, supplies, you know, feminine hygiene products, like none of these things. And if it wasn't for like staying with friends or, you know, my school helping me, there was no type of support. And then on top of everything, being an immigrant, my social background is a little different. Like, you know, I wasn't at the time like a full-fledged citizen. So it's like, okay, well, how do we get her into college? And how do we do this? And who do we connect her to? So people were so lost in that area when it came to immigration. And it made me realize that I needed to bridge the gap between, because there's so many people that looks like me that need help. But when people see me, if you don't hear the accent, you just think I'm a regular black American, you know, and I'm not. I'm black, but I'm not African American, you know, and I'm an immigrant, so my needs are different. So that's why I created It Takes the Village Foundation, is to help black people, immigrants, and African Americans, you know, and to just bridge the gap in everything that we need. So It Takes a Village provides supports in, like, you know, period poverty, back to school supplies, and it helps with, you know, like immigration needs. Like if I know immigration lawyers, you know, read up on immigration laws, your rights, all of those things, you know, like you need the support. So that's how ITAVFoundation got started.
Yes, like that. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that, because like a lot of times, like we go for a lot of stuff we don't want to tell anyone, and then you saw a problem that you dealt with, and you wanted to make sure people came behind you and then had to deal with that. You know what I mean? So we got to be resources for people, and that's so important. And say a village, because a lot of times the word village takes out of context, because a lot of times we don't see that village until something happens. Right. Something bad, or even something good, people don't come out. But something bad, I might be out. But it's like that village is so important more than ever now, because especially you talk about you are a champion of mental health. Yes. So can you explain more about that? Like,
you know. So before I even knew what mental health was in general, I remember being a teenager and growing up in a church, you know, I would be like, they'd be like, just pray about it.
Go to the altar.
Take it to the Lord. And I was just like, I remember one day, like, I was just constantly sad. I was just so sad, and I didn't know why I was just so sad, and it was just this overwhelming feeling, like I didn't want to live. I'm just so sad. I was suicidal, you know, like I want to die, you know, that's how I felt, and I couldn't figure it out. And you know, the type of person I am, I'm gonna read. Like, the library is my heaven. Like, you know, I'm always there, and I was always reading. And I think I came across the word depression one time, and I was like, I think I'm depressed. You know, at that time, we didn't have Google. You know, we had dial-up. Like, I'm not even that old. I'm only 33 years old. But we had dial-up, okay? So, I remember, because we had Ask Jeeves, okay?
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
I asked Jesus what was depression.
That was Google before.
That was before Google. Like, that was the Google. and just reading up about it. And I remember specifically going to my mom and I was like, I'm depressed. I need to see, at the time, I need to see a doctor. I don't know what type of doctor it was at the time. And that's when, when I went to like my routine checkup with my GYN, and I would talk about, like, I'm depressed,
Wow.
and they suggested like talking to a therapist, and that's how I started talking to a therapist, and help me work through mental health and all of that stuff, and just deal with stuff.
And I believe that no one should suffer in silence.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we can face depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety, also social anxiety.
Yeah.
So again, like a lot of times we are so afraid to get help. And I remember now, like before, parents were scared to get the kids tested, but now it's like, it's bad, but now we're kind of trying to reverse the trend in terms of getting tested now, so you won't have to hate later.
Right.
So that you have to help get that child the help they need right in the beginning. So instead of waiting 14, too late.
Right.
Get help they need now. It's not an indictment. It's like you be a bad person.
Right.
But make sure that you are aware of what's going on, so you get support that you need from the beginning. You know what I mean? So right in the middle where it's too late, you're like, okay, now it's too late. But getting support at the beginning is so important. So
the stigma that surrounds just mental health,
yes,
sexual education, sex ed, it's just crazy to me, especially in the Black community. Yes, I'm talking about y'all. It's crazy, and I when I talk to youths, I let them know it's okay to say you're not okay.
Yes,
it's fine to be sad. Like I feel like people have this perception that you should be happy all the time, and that's not a reality. Like, sadness is an emotion. Happiness is an emotion. Anger, jealousy, they are an emotion. They are a part of you, and it's okay to feel these things. It's just, how do you express them? How do you work through them? That's the important part, but don't bottle it up. Like, work through it. Like, work through it.
That's exactly how I say
Yeah. And if you can't talk to your
right.
And that's how I started blogging. I'm a big fan of writing. Like, I write. I have so many journals because we recently just moved, and I found one of my journals since I was 18. Like, I have so many. Like, I write. I write it all out, and I might come back to it later and figure it out. And sometimes, not everybody will understand what you're feeling, so you have to find the right people to talk to as well. Like, it's not necessarily your good girlfriend or your good guy friend. It could be a complete stranger. It could be a complete stranger. So it's just important to just talk about it.
Right. And I think the mental health, like you experience, kind of came to play this next part that I didn't read my own, that really blew me away. That she was also a woman, that you are a 6-time miscarriage survivor.
Yeah.
So how I'm like, this is like, I was like blown away. I was like, wow. Like, you are a living testimony. You know what I mean? How did you overcome that? Like even the first one, how do you everything then how did we had now kind of know way more baby is now. We kind of learned last year those who survived miscarriage and that child is a rainbow berry. So baby, I'm sorry. But so how'd you dealt with that?
When the first one happened, it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, it happens. Like when the first time it happened, it was like, oh, well, okay, this is a part of life, it happens. So I kind of like brushed it off, and moved on, like out of sight, out of mind. But then when I was in like a serious relationship now with a partner, and it was like, okay, it happened again, then you're like, okay, all right. Nature, like, things happen. Now when it happens the third time, that's when I was just like, all right, what's going on? Like, what's going on? You know, so like talking to my doctor about it, you know, all of those things. Come to find out, I did not know that I had fibroids. So I had fibroids and I had an ovarian cyst, and stuff like that. So, you know, they'd break it down like, this is the reason why it could be happening and like all that stuff. So I think it's the last one that really broke me.
Right.
Because I was pregnant with twins, and this was like, you know, when you really want a baby, you want to be a mom, you know, and this was like, I want to be a mom moment for me.
Yes.
And it was just like, you have all these hopes, all like, I had their college planned out. Like, I had a roadmap to everything. Like, it was planned. Names, where they're going to go to school, like, you know,
right.
Like, because I always say this, you know, guys get to experience parenthood when a baby is born, but being a mom, it's the moment you know there's a life inside you, it's like you think about everything, like, you know, everything. So that's where my mind was at, and I was so depressed. Like, I think I was depressed, like, I'm gonna say for a good 3 months. Like, I was legit on autopilot. Like, wow. You know, I can't even remember some days at all. It was just like blackout. And what I've learned was that's also postpartum depression.
Yep.
Because
yes.
I didn't have a baby, but my body is still going through the same emotions as if I had a baby.
Right.
You know, so imagine feeling everything but without the baby. Right. You know, so it was pretty tough. It was pretty dark. You know, a lot of support groups. Support groups, because you know, at one point I had stopped blogging. And I started blogging again and talking about it and stuff like that.
Right.
And, you know, I'm grateful for all the women who like share their stories with me, and I'm able to share my stories with them because it's more common than people think. You know, like infertility, you know, it's really more common than people think. You know, a lot of people struggle with it. But then just as when I think I was starting to feel better, here comes Phoenix.
Right, so when you got pregnant with Phoenix, what were your emotions like at that time? Because just dealing with that, what happened with twins, how did you?
I was in disbelief.
Right, you had that fear. Okay, not again, Lord, not again.
So the craziest thing is,
I know it had to be some fear. I'm like,
it was so many different mixed emotions.
Yeah.
Because after I had my miscarriage with my twins, you know, there was a point where they thought that I might have had cancer or something. So I had to like undergo all these tests, and I just remember the doctor telling me I wasn't going to be able to have kids. You know, it was just, you need to see a specialist. You know, you might need to do, you know, like IVF or, you know, other things. And so it was just like, I'm just never going to be a mom. I'm just going to adopt. That's where my mind was at, you know.
Right.
So I remember, I'm not even going to lie, because I remember specifically my friend saying to me, because she was pregnant at the time, right? So I'm doing her baby shower and everything, and she goes, have you had your period yet? And I was like, no, mine doesn't come on now. She was like, yes, it does, because we sync up, and if I was on mine, yours would have been coming on. So she was like, you should take a test. And I was like, I don't need to take no test. I'm like, what? Like, girl, stop talking nonsense, okay? Funny enough, I track my cycle. Like, ladies, get you an app, track your cycle, check your ovulation, all of that stuff. And I got the notification on the app. It was like, you're 4 days late. And I'm like, let let me open up this app real quick. I'm 4 days late. I'm never late. What? Okay. Again, I just did the baby shower. I'm not thinking about nothing, 4 days late. I'll see my period next week. I'm going to go to work. Then my other friend called and she was like, my period just came on. I'm like, but mine always comes on before yours. She's like, yeah, you should go get a test. So I'm at work. There was a Rite Aid around the corner, and I went and I bought 2 tests.
Right, yeah, you buy 2.
I bought 2.
Make sure, yeah.
Yeah, the first one was like inconclusive. I'm like, this shit is bogus. The second one, it was like pregnant. I was like, what? I was like, let me go buy another one. So this time I got the expensive one. I bought 4 different kinds, and I got the expensive ones. Like, okay, y'all know the expensive one. They're like $50 a pop. Woo. I needed to be sure. Right. Okay.
Yeah, they don't play $50. They don't make you get
They all said pregnant.
Okay.
And I was just like, okay. So I called my doctor, and I was like, yeah. So I'm at work, and I just took this pregnancy test, and it said I was pregnant. She was like, well, how many days are you? I'm like, I'm about like 5 days late at this point, She was like, okay, well, do you want to set up an appointment? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I go in, they have to do their routine urine sample, all that. She was like, well, your urine test positive, but let's go do an ultrasound. We done did an ultrasound, and there he was, like, and I was like, what's that? And she was like, well, that's a baby. And I was like, a what? She was like, a baby. And I was like, a who? And I was like, run that by me again. I was just out for Pride weekend. Pride and the Dumb Day was the same weekend. And sis was throwing like shots like it was water. So I was like, say what? So I was like, so doc, so how far along is it? She goes, oh, you're like 4 weeks and 5 days. I'm like, what? Okay. Because I was so early into it, she's like, come back at 8 weeks because, you gotta it's too early to determine anything. 8 weeks went by, still a baby. 10 weeks went by, still a baby. And I was just like, oh, you're here to stay. Okay. So now we passed the 12-week mark because my last miscarriage was at 12 weeks. Okay. So we passed the 12-week mark. I remember waking up one morning and I was bleeding. And I was like, okay, here we go. Like I'm really nonchalant about it at this point because I'm like, routine, here we go, So, did the routine, went to the hospital, and they go, oh, baby is fine. You just have a threatened miscarriage. That's it. But baby's doing well. You just need bed rest and you're good. And I was like, oh, okay. So he's there? And I remember the tech guy, he's reading over my chart and he like hold my hand and he's like, you want to see? And I was like, sure. And he turned the screen around and I was like, wow. And I started like tears started flowing down. And he's like, it's okay. Your baby's okay. You're going to be okay. And I think when I was like, I'm going to say 20 weeks is when I started feeling comfortable. Okay. It was like, I'm comfortable, okay, cool. There is a baby. What the hell am I going to do? I wasn't prepared for a baby. I wasn't planning for, I had this whole new life planned out for myself, So now I got to change this plan to include a baby in this whole new plan, and I was just sitting here like, so we're having a baby, and this one is here to stay. Like he's not going nowhere, and I remember feeling a little guilty because it was just like, everybody, I wasn't as excited like people wanted me to be. Like everybody was so excited for me because it was just like, my God, you've had so many miscarriages. You're finally, and I'm like, until it's in my hand, I feel nothing. Okay. And it was just like, I was just so, I was so sad at the same time because it was just like, well, what am I going to do? What if it doesn't like me? I did all them shots. Is it going to be okay? So it was just so many different emotions. But no, he was like, look, ma'am, I'm here to stay. I think the moment I started being happy about it was one day I had a dream. I had a dream about him. I saw his whole face and everything and his whole name, his name came to me in a dream. And I woke up and I'm like, before they even told me it was a boy, I was like, it's a boy. I woke up, I'm like, it's a boy. His name is Phoenix and he's going to be fine. That was it. And that was it. And that's when I was like, I'm fine. I'm happy. Let's celebrate. Let's do this. I did a mural in his room. I had this song that just kept playing in my head. I don't know if you ever watched The Greatest Showman.
Yes.
The A Million Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that song just kept playing in my head. And I did a mural of A Million Dreams on his wall in his room with a world map around it and everything. And he came out. That's a tough one right there. He was like, no, Mom, I'm here to stay. I'm not going nowhere. Even because we went past 40 weeks, and usually my pregnancy was considered high risk because at one point into my pregnancy, I actually had to change my doctor because I was feeling pain, and it was pain like I've never felt before. And I was telling them that something isn't right. And they're like, oh, it's this round ligament pain. The baby's growing, you'll be fine. You're fine. And I'm like, I'm not fine. I know I'm not fine. It's hard to walk. Anytime I walk, I'm in pain. So I left that hospital and I went to Jefferson, and I walk in and this time my belly's showing. They're like, okay, well, instead of emergency, you go straight to the maternal ward, Lo and behold, they did an ultrasound and Phoenix's head was on my fibroids. And the fibroid, I'm going to say, is the size of a baseball, and his head is directly on it. It was to the point where the doctor could see it without even doing the ultrasound. Mm-hmm. And then she did the ultrasound to confirm that's exactly what it was, because she felt it and she was like, that's your fibroid. His head is directly on it. And I'm telling you, the most excruciating pain, it was worse than childbirth, because I gave birth natural. It was worse. And because I was so far into my pregnancy, there was no type of medicine that they could give me for it. So they legit put me on a medicine that I could only take for 24 hours. That was it. And that was the best drugs I've ever had in my life, because the pain disappeared, But yeah, even up to 40 weeks, I had to go in, do all these extra ultrasound, because it was going to be determined whether or not I have a C-section or not. Was the fibroids going to keep growing, or was it going to stop growing? Because of being pregnant, your pregnancy hormone can grow the fibroids. Lucky for me, it wasn't growing. It was safe, and had a natural birth. It was good.
Amen.
Yeah, it was good.
How old's Phoenix now?
Phoenix is 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Phoenix just turned 3 in February.
So you had him during the pandemic.
Right? So he was born in February. We went into lockdown in March.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was just me and him at home.
Wow. Right before the pandemic. Wow. That's a miracle right there.
And he took his sweet little time, because he was supposed to be a Valentine's Day baby, and I was like, you better not. I was like, don't you dare even think about coming on Valentine's Day. Okay? I'm like, I don't want no damn Aquarius. You gonna be a Pisces.
Oh, man.
But he took his sweet little time. Like, I remember, I went in and they did a routine checkup, and she's like, oh, the baby's not moving. I was like, he's fine. He's chilling. He only moves when his dad's around. That's it. But being a doctor, you're concerned. So I remember going home, and my phone was being blown up, and my friend called me. She was like, your doctor called me. She said the baby wasn't moving. You need to go to the hospital right now. And I'm like, but he's fine though. Like, he's fine. He's chilling. Sure enough, I went in, he was chilling, They go, well, man, you're 40 weeks. Do you want, no, I'm going home. I'll see you with my water break, okay? Like, peace. And I left out of there. I went that Wednesday, called my doula, and I'm like, they scheduled me for induce, and I'm like, I'm not doing all that, okay? So what's the natural way for this to happen? He took his sweet little time. My water broke that Friday. Phoenix did not show up until Monday. He was like, Mom, I like it here. Not coming. And he sure didn't. But I tell people this all the time. I had the best pregnancy. Like, no morning sickness, no type, other than like the fibroids,
right.
No sickness whatsoever. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was still out and about. We was going dancing, karaoke. We was doing everything up until he came. Like, everything. I was still working out, doing yoga, like everything. Like, the best pregnancy. And then when he was born, I remember like 2 push and there he was. He didn't even cry. He just came out and looked at us like, well, hello. And he's so calm. He's just the calmest, sweetest little boy ever. He's just always chilling, and that's how he is still till this day. He is just calm. I mean, he got a fiery spirit like his mom, but still so calm. Love his sleep. So I'm not one of those moms who had babies that kept them up all night. I mean, it doesn't help that I was a nanny for 10 years, so he was disciplined before he was born.
Yes. So you do a lot. So what do you do for self-care?
For self-care?
Yes.
I mean, other than staying in bed and watch anime all day. I'm very big on just, I don't want to say meditation, because I'm not going to front like I meditate, but I kind of meditate-ish, That meditation for me is just alone time, So I have my alone time, going out with my friends, Last night was self-care for me, just doing anything. Plus, I'm obsessed with my child. So just me and him just being in bed is self-care,
Okay.
Working out, go get my nails done, get me a really nice bottle of whiskey. Self-care.
So, couple of questions. So, what advice would you give to the young Trudean?
Girl, keep being a badass. What? Keep being true to yourself.
Right.
Just keep being true to yourself. Keep being who you are. Keep sharing your light. Don't be afraid to ever stand up for yourself. Like I always tell people, like I went through a lot as like a kid. But it wasn't nothing that I couldn't handle myself.
Right.
Like I said, I've always been a troublemaker. Because if something don't sit right with me, I'm going to talk about it. If I feel like you're doing me wrong, I'm going to tell you about it. And if something isn't for me, I let it go.
Right.
It's just that simple, So just keep being yourself. Keep being true to yourself and keep walking the path you're walking. Because You a badass, sis. You a badass.
Last question. Where people can find more about you and your foundation, It Takes a Village?
So I'm all over social media, but you can check out my website. It's www.trudeanhaye.com, which is TRUDEANHAYE.com. And you can find It Takes a Village Foundation also on my website, but also on social media. It's ITAVFoundation. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or you can go to ITAVF.org and you'll learn more about what I do and what we do in the community, because we do a lot. We actually have our community baby shower coming up next month. So, donate, support Black businesses, all of the good stuff.
Yeah, Trudean Haye, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure to meet you in person finally. Just hearing your backstory, your journey to where you are today. Thank you for being a light for our community. Thank you for being a light for your community, people that the work you are doing. Thank you for your resiliency, just to keep going when life has knocked you down so many times. And to get back up, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much, and thank you for being a champion of our community. So we thank you I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Hopefully you come back on and more updates.
Invite me.
Because I know we do mental health for our program, Path to Greatness, for youth. I would love you to come out and speak about sessions to our young people. So that would be great. So because you're a champion there, and I feel like kids need to see someone like you hear from you. So we got another guest coming on. Ishmael Amir coming up, so stay tuned. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much.